back. Well, the question we left hanging before we went for the break. Okay, apparently the priesthood is an all-boys club. Parang, don't you think it's time na nag-grow up na so we allow women naman to come in? What do you say?
Ang nakalagay sa Vatican II, pinag-usapan na yan ni John the 23rd sa kanyang Pacem in Terris. Sabi niya na he realizes na merong growing na na situation of women coming up front and in all sectors ng society. Parang the women have come of age, di ba? And pinaaral yan ng Santo Papa John Paul na. And naglabas sila ng decree, ng declaration in 1975. At ang kanyang declaration is that Inter Insignores ang pangalan na ang sinusunod ng simbahan hindi actually a question of equality of sex o kaya gender bias ba yan, discrimination. Ang mas sinusundan ng simbahan ano ba ang kagustuhan, kalooban ng Diyos. Si Kristo yata, nung kanyang pinili ang 12, umakyat muna siya ng bundok at nagtanong sa Ama. Parang, sabi mo sa akin, ano bang gusto mong gawin? Kasi hindi naman kanyang kagustuhan to. Yun ang interpretasyon ng simbahan hanggang ngayon. Nakagustuhan ng Ama na itong 12, kasi andyan naman ang mahal na birhen
Pero couldn't be said na kaya in-appoint ni Jesus yung 12 is because at that time, yung society, ang gusto palagi nila, mga lalaki or male-dominated society. So, kumbaga, he was compelled.
Hindi kasi Inter Insignores sabi, ang daming breach ni Kristo tungkol sa kultura about men and women. In fact, the fact na may women na tumutulong sa kanila was totally away from that culture. Pero kasama niya.
I found an interesting thing when I was reading Light of the World before we entered into this interview. Sabi ni Pope Benedict actually, and natatawa pa ako kasi he used the word, that's ridiculous. Because yung panahon daw ni Jesus, there were already a lot of priestesses daw. And in fact, yung radical na ginawa ni Jesus was actually making an all-male apostles for it.
Yes. Ang sinabi ni John Paul II dyan is the church doesn't have any power to change that, no? Because it is integrated into the sacramental sign, no? Because yung sakramento, yan ang pinapakita niya si Kristo. Pero si Kristo kasi isang lalaki. So dapat yung pare na nagre-represent kay Jesus Christ, no? Dapat pareho ni Kristo na lalaki din, no? Dahil ang imagery din ng Biblia is that Christ gives himself to the spouse who is the church. That means the church babae. Sa image na 'yon, ano?
Bride.
Bride. Tapos yung si Kristo lalaki siya. So ganun din dapat yung pare na nagre-represent sa
Can I ask this question and I hope you don't mind na tinanong ko to. Okay, we have God. Is it proper, as some feminists would say, can we call God she or her, considering that God is supposed to be dapat ba sexless or a spirit? Or
well, God is spirit, so therefore He's neither male nor female.
But we keep referring to Him in the Bible as him, he, or...
Yeah, it's just that the revelation has shown us that God is Father, and then He is Son, and then He is Holy Spirit. So yung Father, when you refer to the Father, then you have to use He. When you refer to the Son, of course, you have to use He.
David, you were...
to add to the discussion a while ago on women priests, well, if it's a question of women who want to serve the Lord, to be part of the clergy, we have nuns naman. There are positions for them. They can actually serve by being nuns, mother superiors, that sort of thing. So it's not necessary naman that just because a woman wants to serve, kailangan na agad maging pari, kailangan na agad maging santo papa, ganun-ganun. Kasi in the church right now, may allotted naman na vocation rin for women. So if they really want to serve, pwede sila maging nuns.
In the end, as Father Francis was saying, it's essentially not because of the fact that this was yung gusto natin, but because of the fact na ito yung gusto ni God. When parang it's his organizational structure, and who are we to question?
And then also another thing for us to understand is this a statement, I think, I don't know if it's in Inter Signores also, which says, the greatest in the kingdom of heaven are not the ministers, but the saints. And for us, that makes us understand what the church is, no? And what the ministers are all about. No? So the ministers are really the Pope. No? Is really subordinate. The Petrine ministry is subordinate to Mary, to the Marian dimension. That's what how the Catechism says. I think more or less it's something like that. No? Which basically what it says is what's important in the church is sanctity. And then, because many times this thing of the women priests, their point of view is one of the point of power. But really, power is not the most important thing in the church. The most important thing in the church is that people are united with God, inner union with God. No? And then the priests were created precisely to help people be united with God. They're servants for them to be able to unite people to that.
Well, moving on, and I think the final topic that I'd like to take up here as one of the problems that nako-confront ang church, when you read through the writings ni Pope Benedict, parang there's one thing na palagi niyang paulit-ulit na sinasabi, and it's that he's constantly wanting to confront modernity and relativism. But what's his problem with being modern? Parang do we want to be on the coach and buggy era, gaslight? He wants us to stay there ba? And relativism, what is that? Is that yung kay Einstein ba? Could you please explain, what is his problem with modernity and relativism?
I think more than modernity is the so-called postmodernism. It's a mentality more than technology. Although technology, pwedeng ang technology mag-fuel nun, pero ang mahalaga siguro is that sa tingin ng Santo Papa, pag nawala ka sa objective truth, ang tawag doon, deception. Diba? Gusto mo ba ang isang tao malito? Kasi hindi niya alam ang katotohanan. Eh, ang katotohanan si Jesucristo. Yun ang katotohanan sa ating mga Katoliko, sa ating mga Kristiyano. Si Kristo talaga. At ang sinabi ni Kristo. Kasi wala naman nakapunta pa sa langit eh. Kaya meron nga dumating galing langit. Kasi ultimately, ang gusto ng santo ng Ama ay makarating tayo sa langit. So yung pwede mong i-deceive ang tao by that so-called relativistic things. Kasi bibigyan mo ng importansya yung hindi pala mahalaga in the end. Kasi hindi akma sa katotohanan.
Anong connection ho nun sa modernity? Bakit parang yung parang he doesn't want the church to be too embroiled in sa pagiging modern niya? I keep seeing that, and I'm sure he means something else, pero
perhaps I don't think, from what I know, is that the popes have not spoken against modernity per se. What they have spoken against is modernism, which is a heresy. In fact, it is like the compendium of heresies.
So what is modernism then?
Rationalism, di ba? It's extreme rationalism.
It's extreme rationalism. It is, well, you know, the liberation theology is rooted in modernism. Basically, what it's saying is what is important is the now. I mean, not really the truth. No? What is important is at a certain historical period, what they think is right. No? So it doesn't, even if that thinking of what is this historical period is saying is contradictory to what God has revealed. No? So that means it makes it relative. The truth becomes relative. Kaya mayroon siyang connection to relativism eh. Kasi kung yung sa'yo, abortion, masama, sa akin, okay, pare-pareho lang lahat yan. No?
Huwag tayo mag-away.
Huwag tayo mag-away, ganun eh.
Yeah, but diba? So what's bad about that? As Father Francis would say, wala pa naman sa atin nakakarating ng langit. So how would we know kung ito talaga yung tama na dapat natin?
Si Kristo dumating galing langit. So dapat i-base natin sa sino nang galing sa langit. Kasi sabi niya, ako ang daan. Ako ang katotohanan. Ako ang buhay. So, makalimutan mo si Jesucristo, i-set aside mo yung kanyang sinabing katotohanan, yun ang nangyayari sa modernism.
Okay. So, in the end, parang sinasabi pala natin na, kunyari, si Pope Benedict pala isn't exactly against the idea of using iPad. I think he's also the first Pope yata na nag-Twitter yata for Merry Christmas, if I remember correctly.
So it's not the tools of modernity, but yung mentality na ginagawa ng modernism na pag sabi ng isang tao, okay to sa akin huwag mo na akong pakialaman. So this was also individualism Kaya subjectivism Kasi kalayaan ko to Pero actually, yung kalayaan nagiging layaw.
Yun.
If I could be a little bit light on this one. So, we were talking about this during the break. Any chance of, for example, kasi alam natin yung bagong missiles would probably be here sa iPad. Any chance of seeing a priest na pag nagbasa ng gospel or what have you, ginagamit missile or ginagamit yung iPad rather? Or is that going to be against church doctrines?
Palagay ko, ang laki ng savings ng simbahan kung iPad ang ano eh. Kasi dati it was all papyrus, dati lahat was all memorized. Tapos nung sinusulat, tapos they had all of these big scrolls. Tapos naging, because of the modern technology noon, ng printing press, naging libro lahat. Eh, kayo naman palagay ko. I think ang importante is communication.
Okay.
Sa simbahan, ang simbahan dapat mag-communicate. At kung kailangan ng simbahan mag-communicate, I would prefer na ang bawat pare ay marunong muna dito. Ngayon, kung isa-sanction ng simbahan na pwede itong gamitin as a missal, where you could put the lectionary, no problem.
No problem. Although I do notice na pag, for example, sa Advent, instead of using light bulbs, I think they still stick to the candles. Is there any religious reason for that, aside from it being traditional or aesthetic?
More, I guess tradition lang talaga. Like, actually, personally, me, when you brought up the whole iPad thing, I was a bit uneasy because I really can't imagine, for example, nasa procession, pari, magtataas ng isang iPad, tapos nandun yung mga imahe. For me personally, it doesn't, well, there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, it's a bit uncomfortable, maybe because we're not yet used to seeing it. But I guess later
perhaps
on,
another argument siguro is that hindi permanent kasi sa iPad. I mean, pag nawala ng kuryente or power, it's gonna be gone. It could also be ma-virus siya or what have you. Then perhaps that's the other thing. Well, again, as usual, we've run out of time. But I think I'd like to ask each of you. So, having said the problems confronting the church and the fact that the church obviously is going to be here to stay, any final words for our guest on what do you think will be, what the future lies for the church? Father Francis.
Una sa lahat, hindi dapat tayo matakot. Sabi nila yung do not be afraid is the most important commandment rather than the 10. Kasi palagi tayong takot. Ano kaya mangyayari sa atin? God is with us, sabi niya. To the Blessed Mother, do not be afraid, the Lord is with you. Sa akin ang simbahan, ang future ng simbahan ay palagi sa Panginoon. So hindi dapat matakot.
Raul?
Naisip ko na mayroong analogy yan with salvation. Yung sabi nga ni St. Augustine, God who created you without you cannot save you without you. So yung tao, dapat tayo mag-correspond. So importante yung word na yon, no? So dapat, okay, binibiyayaan tayo ng Diyos. Madami binibigay sa atin, mga katotohanan, grasya, no? Pero tayo, dapat tayong magsalita ng oo. Kasi pag sinabi natin hindi mangyayari yung kagustuhan niya sa mundo. Eh, napakaganda naman yung plano niya sa mundo. Kaya dapat gayahin natin si Maria na, okay, behold the handmaid of the Lord. With that fantastic phrase, no? The greatest thing in the world happened. God came to the world and saved us, no? So, yung mga tinatawag dyan na nanonood na gusto ng Panginoon na kayo ay maging isang pare, no? Kagaya nga sabi ni Father, be not afraid, no? Say yes because God, we can always trust in God. No? That God will do the best thing with our yes.
David?
Para naman sa akin, the church has endured and the church will always endure. Pag may problema po sa simbahan, wag po natin abandonin ang simbahan, but instead we should stand behind the church, support it, and as much as possible, continue standing true to our faith and continue praying. Because in the end, if we believe in God, He will deliver us from all the problems.
And on that point, I would also like to add, I mean, Scott Hahn mentioned one interesting point there. When Jesus said that the gates of hell shall not stand against the church, he actually interpreted it as to meaning that the church is actually always on the offensive. It's not that the church will be at the mercy of hell, but it is the church actually that will be going against and is on the offensive against hell. In that respect, I have to say na he is talking about the church, as you say, will endure, and we are confident it will always, in the end, will triumph over evil. That's it. It's a quite interesting discussion. I'm again sorry that we have to cut this episode short, but do stay with us for our next episode, and we will continue to discuss again further information about this authentic and perhaps the most best interpreter of natural law, which is the Catholic Church. Please join us then, and thank you very much for being with us.